Alright, I thought this could be an interesting idea for a video. I'm making some videos on players who were drafted and how they fit in with certain schemes. And one thing I've heard a lot of is when it comes to someone like Bo Nix, he is a bit of a controversial prospect. There are people who really like him as a player. There are people who aren't as crazy about him as a player. But one thing I think I've heard a lot when talked about him is, well, he fits the Sean Payton scheme perfectly. And so that's kind of what I wanted to get into is, does he fit the Sean Payton scheme perfectly, and how, what does that mean? So let's just get into it. We'll start off with the play you see on the screen where you see the concept. This is very much a Sean Payton style concept of you want to have, several layers of routes down the field, usually an underneath route, a go route, and then more like an out route like what you see here. And the logic behind it is pretty simple. For the Portland State defense, they only have two defenders who are covering outside the hash marks at the beginning of this play, and while sure, a linebacker could read this play and get over and cover the other guy, it doesn't always happen, and can sometimes, even if it does happen, means you have a linebacker on a receiver. It's still a good opportunity for the offense. That's the route that usually gets open, that over the middle route. Not always, sometimes you have to make adjustments, but that's what going into the play you're expecting to get open. When this play begins for Bo Nix, he takes the snap and is going to fire down the field, and you see right here, it is open. Bo Nix doing a good job of running the offense well, also the offense doing a good job of being ran well, right? Everyone doing their part here. As you see, well thrown ball, they're able to get a big completion, all that good stuff. So yeah, just across the board, really good stuff. This is what you tend to see from, I thought Bo Nix pretty much all last season was being able to do these types of things, which that that's what Sean Payton is going to want from a quarterback. Like something like this is another one where it's going to be zone coverage. You have several receivers running deeper routes, kind of just trying to get the defenders who are going to be in those deep zones out of position. That's essentially what those routes are for. As then that route is going to be really the key one to watch here. So that's what Bo Nix is going to look towards. When this play begins, Nix takes the snap. He is going to eventually look in that direction. You see it's open right here. There's definitely a receiver who can make the play. Also, Bo Nix timing this really well. If you look at him, he's in the throwing motion already. He's timing this and not hesitating whatsoever, which you obviously, you can't hesitate in college, and you certainly can't hesitate in the NFL because the windows close up quickly. But Nix doing a good job here. Also throws an accurate pass, and they're able to get a big completion. And, I think some people would maybe counter this and say, well, are these the highest degree of difficulty plays? It's reasonable to say that the answer is no, not always. Like, for example, something like this, where it's going to be that kind of over-the-middle route here, with a play action. You get the linebackers to step in, throw over the top of them, that kind of thing. Nix is going to take the snap. He's going to run the play action, and you see that when he gets ready to fire, this is wide open. And routes don't get this open at the NFL level. It's just true. That's a very fair thing, I think, to bring up. But at the same time, you look at when he's timing this, it's well timed. This is when he should be throwing it. You see the ball. It's well thrown, perfectly accurate. So, sure, it was a easier throw, but you can't hold that against Bo Nix. Like, all he can do is throw it to the open guy, and his job in part is to, throw it to the open guy consistently, which is what he did. So, well, yes, it was a scheme that was in many ways designed to make the throws easier for him, like so is the Sean Payton scheme. And there were more traditional plays, like stuff like this, where you see the, it's zone coverage. You see the route that Bo Nix is going to look towards. It's, route that can get into a gap in coverage. Nix is going to take the snap. He fires in that direction. Right here, there is a bit of a window to make this throw. Nix, well-timed, accurate ball. Again, this stuff is higher degree of difficulty. That's not the easiest throw in the world to make, but he's still able to make it. And this might be closer to the windows you're going to see at the NFL level. So, yeah, I do think there is some pretty solid scheme fit stuff in here with Nix. I do see why people say he's kind of a perfect fit for a Sean Payton offense, because that's kind of what he ran in college. Also, one more thing that I just thought of. I don't know if this is true, if there's anything to this, but it's just, I watch things on film. It makes me think of things, and then I include it in the video. This play is going to be a designed quarterback run. And to me, that's interesting. You see that when this play begins, you're going to see Bo Nix take the snap, steps up. And right here, it's kind of the safety down the field that really is the one guy to miss. He pretty much has the touchdown here. But as you see, Nix is going to make a move, and he gets into the end zone for a touchdown. And I did think about that as we saw Sean Payton, what he did with Taysom Hill, right? He does value a quarterback who can maybe run, and again, I don't think Bo Nix is a Taysom Hill type necessarily, but could I see him on the occasional play doing something like this? It's just something I thought of. Yeah, I think it's possible for sure. I think a potential counter argument to everything I just said would be, okay, that's great that he does these more simple things, but wouldn't it be better potentially to get a guy who maybe has a higher ceiling and can do more than just these simple stuff at a very high level the way that Bo Nix can? Like, would there be more logic? Obviously, this is a hypothetical scenario because he was the sixth quarterback taken, but like, would it be better if you got someone like Drake May who isn't as good at this stuff? He just isn't. He's not as good at the, simple running an offense kind of, the Sean Payton scheme style of stuff, but maybe has the higher ceiling. And if you can teach him the more simple stuff, you could have this explosion of, awesome talent. Okay, maybe, but for one thing, this way Denver didn't have to trade up to get a quarterback, so they didn't have to spend like an extra first round pick to try and get a guy, which, sometimes there's a lot of logic in just getting a guy who, if he stinks next year, no worries, you can just draft another guy the year after. Whereas if you trade up, you're kind of, ask the Panthers, you're kind of stuck with him for another year, even if he doesn't look so good. So there's that aspect. But I think the other aspect is like, listen, we don't know. Everyone always says, oh, you can just coach this part up or you can coach that part up. Guys have coaches in college too, like it's not like Sean Payton is a magician. Yes, he's very good at coaching guys up, but like you never know. So getting a guy who's already pretty good at this stuff, there's absolutely a lot of value in it. So I think it's a smart move. And again, I like the idea of drafting a quarterback just to have an opportunity. You're almost wasting a year if you don't get a quarterback. Sure, you could get a good player. The Raiders, what they did with getting Brock Bowers, just getting a good player because there was no quarterbacks left. Okay, that's not the worst thing in the world, but there'll be good players next year, right? Yes, it would be nice to be able to get a star player, but it's even more important to get a solid quarterback. Like if he's the 20th best quarterback and he's on a rookie deal, you can win a Super Bowl that way. Like you legitimately could, or at least get very far that way. Whereas if if you're not in this situation, then if you don't have a quarterback, you're probably screwed. So yeah, again, they have to pay all of the Russell Wilson money this year, but this year is just a rebuild year. Let's see what we have in a young quarterback and move to next year. So I'm interested in seeing how it works out. But yeah, I do think it's a very good fit. And again, you could argue, well, it's a good fit, but he's an older prospect. Okay, sure, I don't disagree with that either. Yes, he is an older prospect. Yes, there is some evidence to support that guys who, when they come into the league at a younger, are more likely to succeed. But at the same time, you can't just look at that and then say, well, then let's never draft an older prospect. Like, there still is plenty of reason to believe he has gotten better and will continue to get better. Like, that does happen. So, I don't know. It's an interesting move. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Bo Nix and how he fits in with the Denver Broncos. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.